With the Continental Tire SportsCar Challenge season at the midway point, it's crunch time for the quickest and most familiar production cars from around the world. 2014 has already seen its share of huge fields and hard racing at some of the best tracks in America. Today, for the first time in 6 years, they've come north to legendary Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, Mosport, the historic track where speed rules and danger lies around every bend. For more than a half century, drivers have come to test themselves against this track and each other. And today begins a new era. It's the IMSA Continental Tire SportsCar Challenge right now on Fox Sports. Canada's second oldest permanent racetrack used to be known as Mosport, but now it's the Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, site of Round 7 of the Continental Tire SportsCar Challenge for 2014. Welcome to the Mobile One SportsCar Grand Prix from Bowmanville, Ontario. Beautiful day here in Canada and a great race in store on a very difficult racetrack. Hi everybody, I'm Bob Varsha with Calvin Fish and Dorsey Schrader, both of whom have won on this bad, fast track. Calvin, we've got a field of 46 cars, but now that we're in the second half of the season, we need to focus on the title contenders.
Absolutely, Bob, and it is very tight at the top. When you look at the GS driver standings, two drivers sitting at the top of the points. Trent Hinman, Matt Plum, how they got there, two very different paths. For Trent Hinman and his teammate John Edwards, the perfect start to the year, 3 podium finishes, including a win. They were just cruising along, and then drama along the way, including damage on the race car at Watkins Glen, a 19th place finish. Suddenly the pack are nipping at their heels, led by the Rumbum team, the defending champions. Matt Plum is right there, polar opposite in terms of their year, bad start. Now they're getting the momentum. They're suddenly right there in the championship. But I think, Dorsey, neither one of these powerhouse teams, Four-Line or Rumbum for that matter, can afford too many more blips on their radar. They're going to make a run for the championship, and now today it starts on a circuit that is definitely a big boys track.
Well, you're right about that. I mean, most of the racetracks nowadays are built for car clubs, amateur drivers, if you will. They're safe. This is not one of those. This is a bad, fast racetrack, old school. And if you get off here, you're going to pay a very big price. If you're looking at a championship, big picture, you better behave today.
And now with more on the race in store, let's get down to the pit lane and Brian Till.
Guys, you've talked about the ups and downs of the season for the number 46 Fall Line BMW, Trent Hinman and John Edwards. Obviously, the car very fast, but they certainly have plenty of bad luck as of late. They need to turn that luck around now here at the midway point of the season. Maybe they'll do that. A good omen. They've qualified on the front row. Every time they've started on the front row so far this season, they have finished inside the top 4. Trent Hinman tied right now with Matt Plum in the Drivers' Championship, but it's not just Plum that he needs to be worried about. Starting alongside in the number 6 Stevenson Autosport Camaro, it is Andrew Davis and Robin Liddell. They won the last time out at Watkins Glen. They've got the confidence, they've got a strong Camaro, and they have their first pole position of the year. They're going to be strong. That win at Watkins Glen moved them to 4th in the championship. The second row filled with Camaros as well. The team car, the number 9 from Stevenson Autosport, alongside the 01, the CKS Camaro. Right now, it's bow tie surrounding BMW on the front row.
That's right, Brian. No question. The Camaros are not coming. They are here. Now let's turn for the big Grand Sport cars to the high-revving street tuners. There are the championship standings. Another tie at the top. Greg LaFouge and Tyler Cook. And notice the gaps running down through the order with 35 points available for a win in either GS or ST. Those standings could change dramatically by the end of the day. With more on the ST class, here's Jamie Howe.
Well, Bob, it's been quiet consistency that has put Bimmer World and drivers Greg LaFouge and Tyler Cook at the top of the point standings. They've not won a race this season, and they only have one podium finish, but they have always finished the races. And in a class that's this tight, that's what they need to do. But the concern for the team is that in the second half of the season, they're going to have to win, and they're not sure that with a 5-year-old car that that's going to be a possibility. Winning is also a question that Murillo Motorsports drivers Jeff Mosing and Eric Fawcett started to ask themselves. They did win the first race of the season from the pole position at Daytona, but it's been a rocky up and down season ever since. They start from the pole today, and they still retain second place in the championship, so keep an eye on them. But another car to watch is Team Salem, specifically with driver Will Nunemaker. 3 races ago, they were 32 points out of the championship lead and in 8th place. But you fast forward to today, they have 2 second-place finishes, and they're not only in the hunt, they're only 3 points out of the lead. This team is more comfortable with the car, and they're going for the race win, so certainly don't count them out.
All right, thank you, Jamie. As you see, the field is now on track. Time for our Corvette race analysis and Calvin.
Well, Bob, we said this is a big boy track, certainly scary, quick, respect the racetrack, and patience, Dorsey. Two classes playing here as we look at the Mazda track map.
This racetrack, like we said before, one of the fastest. In fact, it is the very fastest these cars run on, with the exception of Daytona. The slowest part, right here, it's the Moss Corners, turn 5A, 5B. Still there, it's over 50 miles per hour. The elevation change here is unbelievable. These hills, you can fall off of. Watch out.
Now let's get a view from the driver's seat with the help of GS Class Points co-leader Matt Plum of Rum Bum Racing.
My name is Matt Plum. I'm the driver of the number 13 Porsche, and welcome to Turn 2. Turn 2 has pretty much everything I love in a corner. It's blind, it's super fast, and it's downhill off camber. In our Porsche, we're at the top of 4th gear. We lightly brush the brake as we come over a blind rise, float as much speed as physically possible until you hit the compression at the base of the hill, and then it's back on the power off to Turn 3.
Our thanks to Matt Plum for that analysis. He and his co-driver, Nick Longy, will start 14th in the overall. The field is gathered up. Safety car has pulled off, and we are ready to go racing at Mossport. Andrew Davis and Trent Hinman across the front row. Green flag here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park.
You saw that bright blue Camaro. Eric Curran there slides into the 3rd spot. I think he's got inside of Hinman, maybe taking that position.
Yeah, Trent Hinman now with a good start. It's backed up to 3rd place right now. Here's the ST start, headed for turn 1.
Second pole of the year for Foss and Mosing, and they take the inside line down into turn 1.
This is so fast down through here. 1 and 2, they got to do a little breathe here. Not on the first lap necessarily, though.
Yeah, these Continental tires are not quite up to... Oh, you saw there the leader there. That was wild there as you head through turn 2. Matt Plum talked us through it. Probably the most hairiest corner on this racetrack.
4th gear, I mean, you're 100 mile per hour plus down that hill. A little bit of a break here for turn 3.
2 and 3 wide through a very tight right-hander with another one to come, and then a straightaway.
See those patches that have been inlaid into these corners, giving the track a little bit more grip. But as you come off those patches, it really releases the grip, so the drivers do have to be careful of that.
Full disclosure, television does not do justice to those downhills at turns 2 and 4. They plummet now through the Moss Corners, 5A and 5B, and on to the long straightaway, back to the Grand Sport leaders.
And speaking of the hills, actually, Bob, one of the problems and nuances here is if you get off the racetrack, you go downhill, and you go downhill till you hit something.
Look at this, the 2 Stevenson Camaros up front right now, led by the pole sitter, Andrew Davis, but Matt Bell all over his rear. Hinman hangs on to 3rd.
Camaro's obviously strong, running a 1-2 right now, but in talking to the Stevenson team, it is hotter today than it has been the entire time that they've been here from the test day on Wednesday. A little concerned about tires going off. They said they'll be good for about 5 laps, and then they'll begin to degrade after that. This racetrack, with the compressions that it has, the Camaro being a bit heavy, it's going to really wear on these Continental tires.
Look at Hinman using all of the road, trying to defend that 3rd position. Curran looking really aggressive here.
You got to watch going 4 wheels off down there at the bottom of the outside of turn 2. It's one of the places which is deemed to be out of bounds. If he continually do that, he will be warned, and then he will be penalized if he keeps doing it.
And that just adds one more conundrum to the drivers who are trying to deal with the big elevation changes, the very fast corners, the differing track surfaces, as Calvin mentioned, and now you've got to worry about not sliding 4 off outside the track boundaries. Back to the ST class.
Mosing continues to lead, but Gilsinger, that team, the Hart Racing team, has suddenly found a little bit of momentum in the middle of this championship year. With a win, runner-up finish, they're doing really great things and making a move in the championship. He currently runs 2nd. He got double duty here today. He's going to drop in both of the Hart cars.
Jamie.
I was talking to Jeff Mosing on the grid, and when we talk about tire wear, he believes that if this race stays green, meaning that they don't go to full course caution, he thinks that tire wear could be a big advantage for them. However, if we go full course caution, he thinks that those Mazdas are going to have the advantage. So while he's in the car, he's keeping his fingers crossed that there's no caution, but he's also being very mindful of the tires, especially on that left-hand side.
Second pole of the year for Jeff Mosing. The first came in the season opener at Daytona, and they won that race.
See the Mazdas there working together as they approach turn 8. That's Mark Miller in the lead of those 2 Mazdas there that we just saw in the frame.
Time of the race ticking backwards at the top of your screen. 2.5 hours on a very warm, perhaps unseasonably warm day, not far from the shores of Lake Ontario.
Drivers have to do 45 minutes of dry time to score points here today, so that plays into the strategy as well as when you want to make that first pit stop. Things settling down, Dorsey.
Yeah, that's a good thing to see, too. Everybody's getting a rhythm now. This is a rhythm racetrack because there's so many corners that are blind, because the hills themselves create blind spots. You really got to feel yourself around for a while to be comfortable.
Up from the Moss corners on the long straightaway, and then come the S's, a bit like Watkins Glen International, where we were 2 weeks ago. A series of reasonably tight turns left and right before you hit the start-finish straightaway.
Just such a fun racetrack, so demanding, so challenging. Really not a bad corner around this racetrack. Even this little section here between 9 and 10, the transition is beautiful, has great rhythm, great flow, and then you're back onto the high-speed section.
You think somebody might be tempted to try a last lap pass to get to the checkers first? It happens all the time here at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. We'll be back to more nose-to-tail action.
Well, this is Mosport, and I'm Bruce McLaren.
The stories are the stuff of legend at the track once known as Mosport. Virtually every kind of major international road racing series you could imagine has raced on this track. This is Moss Corner, originally designed as a hairpin. The first race was held on this track in June of 1961. Sir Sterling Moss himself won the two-part race, 2 100-mile heats, and then suggested to the organizers, you might want to break up that hairpin into 2 corners. It'll be better for the fans and for the drivers as well. That was done, and now that corner bears his name. Here's a look at Matt Bell in a row of 3 consecutive Camaro Z28Rs that lead the overall and Grand Sport classes. To Brian Till.
Andy Lally shares that Camaro with Matt Bell. They had a good run to 4th at Watkins Glen. Andy, great job. I would call you a hot foot all the time, but certainly after Watkins Glen, a lot of heat in the car. You burned your feet. We talked about it then. How is your foot right now?
Foot's doing okay. It's, I feel it more walking around and standing here in the pits than I do in the car once the adrenaline comes up, but it's getting better. I got a week off next week to hopefully heal up before we go to Indy, so that should be good.
So exactly what was it? We heard that a panel had fallen off their kind of a heat shield device. Is that what it was?
Yeah, there's a panel that we open up to get the steering through, and unfortunately that came undone, and it was right behind the gas pedal. So it with about 95 minutes still left in the race, I knew I was in trouble, and the heat was coming around. The guys did a good job. Stevenson Motorsports, they're always on top of things. They fixed it up, but this Team Chevy's Z28 strong here, and that was just a tough one. It lit us up, and I got a pretty good sized blister on my foot. If you guys saw it on Twitter, it's there, but we're getting better. This race will be all right.
They've got it taken care of in a little cooler weather here this weekend. Certainly a cooler cockpit for the number 9. Jamie?
Well, in ST, Eric Voss waiting for his turn behind the wheel of the class-leading car at the moment. Jeff Mosing back behind the wheel. What went into getting this team ready for a track that the series hasn't competed on in a while?
Yeah, I mean, we luckily had a promoter test day on Wednesday. Jeff and I have raced here a bunch in the past, so coming back here, this is my favorite track in North America, and I think Jeff's too. We had a lot of work on the test day. The car wasn't working really well, and we're just doing our best to try and keep that BMW up front.
Why has the season been so inconsistent with the up and down finishes?
I couldn't hear anything you said just then, but this is a great place to be. We love it out here. Jeff's been doing a stellar job. I mean, he won in both his Porsche Cup races this weekend, and I can't wait to get in the car, but I know it's going to be a hard battle, so I'm looking forward to it.
I was talking about the inconsistent finishes. I know he couldn't hear me, but they did win that first race. They have 1 podium, a 4th place, but the rest of the time it's either 20th, 12th, or 10th, so looking for some consistency today.
Thanks, Jamie. I think Eric was being pranked by one of his mechanics there. Go over and give that guy a smack upside the head.
I was going to say, Jamie needs to go unplug that air hose and put it somewhere else.
I think we talk about that a lot, about what Jamie's statement was in terms of teams having up and down years. We talked about the GS championship leaders. The fact of the matter is there's so much competition out there, Dorsey. You have a little blip, there's a ton of cars that are going to blow by you.
That is the problem, because you're not losing just to the guy you're racing against. You're losing to everybody. Look at all the cars up this straightaway. One of the nuances here at this racetrack is that straightaway isn't straight. It's also very uphill, and a lot of times you lose cars. You can't see them.
It's also named for Mario Andretti. Now you notice that Andrew Davis is working lap traffic. Those are ST class cars that he's going by, and we are working lap 10 of this race. So traffic is going to be a factor for the next 2 hours, 15 minutes and change.
Yeah, you're in traffic now the rest of the way. That's basically the nature of this racetrack. It is extremely busy, and there's a big difference in speed as we saw there. That GS machine just powered by the ST cars up that long Andretti straightaway. But very, very cool. This is the hairy spot. If you come through here and there's a slower car, you've really got to be decisive with which line you're going to take. As you see Matt Bell there sliding around the outside, trying to keep the heat on his teammate Andrew Davis, who has the lead right now.
You commit to that outside line around turn 2, and you're hoping that the car underneath you doesn't have a slip. If it slips, it's going to come into the side of you. You're going to take a ride.
Eric Curran there, still sitting there in the third spot. The bright blue Camaro right there as he heads down through turn 4. A lot of compression here as you slide through this fast sweep, but then hard on the brakes. Really bottom out the front splitter on the car if you're not too careful. You've got to get those suspension settings working just right before you hit the race here on full tanks and everything else. Cars at its heaviest.
In the second part of that corner, that Moss corner, we call it 5A and B. The B part of that, it's so easy to get into that too deep because you're really concentrating on wanting to carry speed on the long straightaway. But if you get in there too deep, the car's not going to turn for you. You'll get off on the outside, we'll see that, and then you've got a dull straightaway speed and everybody goes by.
Look at the cars, 2 and 3 wide on the Andretti straight.
So in the back of the picture there, the Rum Bum machine, the yellow and blue bright colors, the Bacardi squad. Nick Longy behind the wheel, sitting in the 11th spot. Spoke to Nick this morning. He wasn't real confident about how well they do here today. He said, our game plan for the championship is all about execution. We've got a great team, great players here, but he feels that the Porsche right now just does not have the ponies and everything else to really take it to the cars up front.
Well, nevertheless, Longy has made it from 14th on the grid to 11th in the current order.
It's all about keeping it clean. If you don't have the fastest race car, Dorsey, let the team do the work for you. I think that's Nick Longy's task. Don't force the issue. Don't take any chances to maybe gain a position. Just keep it in the hunt. Hopefully there'll be a yellow, get you back towards the pack. Have a good quick pit stop. Do it at the right time, and suddenly before you know it, they're always knocking on the door for a podium.
It's the battle for 5th. Kurt Resitano and Jade Buford in a pair of Mustang Boss 302 machines. Used to seeing Buford much closer to the front. He has won a lot of poles in his career in the Continental Tire Sports Car Challenge. Right now, he runs 6th, hoping for more. We'll be back. Welcome back to Watkins Glen on the Mobil 1 Sports Car Grand Prix, round 7 of the Continental Tire Sports Car Challenge. Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you for listening. Welcome back to Bowmanville, Ontario, and the Mobil 1 Sports Car Grand Prix, round 7 of the Continental Tire Sports Car Challenge, and the one and only event on the series north of the border in Canada this year. You're on board with pole sitter and race leader Andrew Davis in the Stevenson Camaro Z28R.
Coming off a big win at Watkins Glen, their 2nd of the year, and really thrown them right back in this championship hunt, particularly with the problems with the 4-line squad over the last 3 races. It really closed up the gap at the top of the championship standings, as we said in the open. And Andrews felt yesterday after practice they had a very good car. He said, I have a shot at the pole. He went through and executed that. And he's going to turn it over to Rob Liddell. And Liddell has proven to really be a great closer in this car this year.
They are a tough pair, no doubt about it. Down into turn 1 they go. A moment ago, we had a bit of conflict down in the Moss corner. Oh, this was the spin coming up to turn 8. And this is critical. This is Mike Lamara. He shares this BMW with Terry Borcheller. They are tied for 5th in the Drivers' Championship. And as we pointed out at the top of the show, Calvin, as we get into the second half, you cannot afford mistakes.
No, you cannot. And talking to Terry Borcheller this morning, he felt very good about the car. He said, we put a new fresh motor in at the Glen. He said, it just didn't perform. I said to the team, what's up? They found out something wrong with the intake on the engine. He said, we got the power back. He said, the cars will work well this weekend. He said, we're still in the hunt, and they certainly are points-wise. And if they can execute for the rest of the way, maybe they can get another championship.
Got to think that Mike got helped with that little half spin because that's in the straightaway that's not so straight that I talked about before. He was rubbing nose against the wall all the way up the straightaway, so something turned it. Either a mechanical problem or he had a little help, one or the other.
Saw a shot of Trent Hinman there coming off of Moss Corner. He still sits back in the 4th position. And he did a great job at Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca when they won their one and only race this year of really being patient by managing these Continental tires. He didn't go out front from the pole and just lead laps. He just sat back, let the rest of the cars push hard and then let them come back to him. Maybe he's trying to execute the same game plan here today. The gap now between he and the leader of the race is just over 3 seconds.
Let's hear from Trent Hinman's co-driver, John Edwards, with Jamie Howe.
Well, Calvin, I was actually just talking to John about that tire management at the end of the stint. Here at Mosport, how important is that going to be for you and Trent to keep in mind?
Well, back at Laguna Seca, we saw the Camaros had really good speed over 1 lap, but they really abused their tires. You know, they're a big, heavy car. Our M3 is lighter and nicer to the tires. So we're hoping that's the case here. We saw they were fast in practice. You know, we competed with them for pole in qualifying, but we felt like we probably had better stint performance. That being said, right now it doesn't really look like they're letting up, and their tire life seems good this far into the stint. But there's still a ways to go in the stint, and hopefully they'll start coming back to us as it goes on. Then again, this track is, if any track's made for the Camaro, I think it's here. You know, it's a bumpy circuit, very low grip, especially when we started out. So that soft sprung, you know, heavy car, I think will make a lot of grip. So we're hoping that their tires will go off and they'll come back to us, but we'll see.
I think it's certainly going to keep it interesting. Brian?
Right now, Kyle Gimble runs 3rd in the ST class in his Children's Tumor Foundation. Honda Civic shares that car with Ryan Eversley. Ryan, you guys won last time at Watkins Glen, but up front right now, it's 2 Hondas giving chase to him, BMW. Front-wheel drive, rear-wheel drive. When you come to this racetrack and you look at it, which one do you think really has the advantage?
The Porsche Cayman. We're really fast here. We were fast at Watkins Glen, and the degradation wasn't as bad as we had thought it to be, which is a great testament to the Continental Tire guys. The track here is a little bit faster, a little bumpier. We slide around a lot more. So we're really kind of like, we don't know what's going to happen in the next 20 to 30 minutes of the stint if it stays green. So we're doing the best job we can. Kyle's hauling the mail out there, which, you know, we thank HPD for that every weekend. I want to give a quick shout out to Drew Leathers, who's undergoing surgery right now to remove a malignant tumor. And one of the things on our car is the Children's Tumor Foundation. Drew, we're thinking about you. We love you, and get well soon, bud.
It's a great cause, and the 75 running well again this weekend.
That they are. Now, there was another incident while we were in break, and there's going to be a penalty as a result of it. Jason Montgomery in the 87. There he is coming up the inside, gets into the side of Andrew Long in the 48 BMW.
Yeah, just committed to the inside of 5A, the start of Moss Corner, and got it wrong, then got up on the curb. That made it worse. There's zero grip when you're in the air, Dawes.
Yeah, you can't stop them in the air, and that was a little over-aggressive, and we'll pay the penalty as a result.
That's right, a stop and 55-second hold. I think Mario Andretti was clocked at about 175 miles an hour, which inspired the organizers to name that straightaway for him. He was in a Can-Am car. These are mass-produced American and foreign performance cars, and they are not going a whole lot slower than that, at least the GS machines.
It's amazing how technology has moved on, particularly tire technology as well, Bob. I mean, the tires have so much more grip, superior performance. These Continental tires in both classes here today really just do a great job and give the driver the confidence that you really need around a racetrack that is as challenging here as Canadian Tire Motorsport Park.
Probably the 2 biggest things that have developed over those 2 decades has been tires and brakes. I mean, the other thing was we didn't have any brakes when we first came here.
I certainly didn't have any brakes when you followed me that one year down in the Moss Corner.
You didn't have any tire either.
And a brake rotor fly off the race car down into Moss. That was here at about 2 a.m. with Dorsey right on my tail, but that's a long story.
Yeah, I knew you wasn't going to be a
right
good
here.
end.
There it was.
Yeah, right
Middle
there.
of the night. Talk about wake you up.
Right front wheel, tire, brake rotor, everything. I said, bye, Cal.
Trust me, folks, you hang with these guys, you hear some great stories no matter where we go.
You didn't stop and ask how I was doing, by the way.
I'll find out later.
Yeah.
Let's get more on the 23 car of Borcheller and Lamar with Brian Till.
Just checked in with the team and Terry Borcheller. He said, we don't really know. We didn't get a good shot of what happened, but we think maybe he got hit the first time. But we can't get a clear answer on if the car is handling okay because he spun a second time on the racetrack. Terry and I were talking earlier in the weekend about Mike Lamar. He said he's come a long way. They won the championship last year, and he said, but he's at that difficult point in a driver's career where he's built up speed. He's faster now than he ever was, but he still doesn't have a lot of experience. So sometimes that extra speed that he's carrying now with the lack of experience can jump out and bite him. And maybe right now that's part of the problem. Maybe that lack of experience has him a little bit flustered in a car that's not handling just to his liking, especially after some contact.
Well, since it's carried on after that wreck right there, you can say one thing for sure. It wasn't mechanically induced because he's still going. You have to assume someone hit him because he was spinning in the straightaway and he wasn't in the brake zone. Plus, that corner you don't brake very hard for to begin with, so you shouldn't have locked the brake up.
And the radio call from the pits was, "You're good, just keep on trucking." That's what he's doing. Meanwhile, Andrew Davis has drawn out a 2.7-second lead over teammate Matt Bell. We'll be back with more from the Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. Welcome back to round 7 of the Continental Tire SportsCar Challenge from Bowmanville, Ontario, Canadian Tire Motorsports Park here on Fox Sports 1. There's your leader in the street tuner class, the number 56 of Jeff Mosing, who put that BMW on pole and has led since the green flag.
Yeah, he's looked really comfortable out front, certainly pushed hard on the opening lap before those Continental tires were completely up to temperature. Had a bit of a lurid slide over in turn 2, but kept it together and done a brilliant job. He split in points with his teammate Eric Foss because he had some back issues back at Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca. Didn't see the start of that race, so otherwise he'd be right in the thick of this championship battle as well.
I think there was contact there. That's Jason Montgomery, who served a long penalty for contact with another car earlier in the race, and he was trying desperately not to be lapped by the class leader.
Tom Mosing, very, very experienced at this racetrack, very comfortable with the car. He set that pass up perfectly, even with the bump. If there was a bump, he knows his way around here.
Down to Brian Till.
Right now, the number 93 with Chad Gilsinger running well. Second in the P2, or the 2 category, the street tuner category. Michael Valiente, not at all uncommon to see you do double duty on a weekend, but you were telling me earlier, this is the most difficult double duty you've done between the Tudor Series and Continental Tire. Why?
Just this track requires so much commitment in the DP class or P2 class that, you know, it's hard to tell yourself when you're going to these corners. It's convincing yourself that the car will actually do it. So I spend a lot of the time in the prototype car convincing myself how fast you can take these corners. And then when I jump in the Continental car, I got to remind myself that everywhere I'm flat, I'm actually braking in this car. So normally on other race weekends, it's very similar. Just the speeds are a bit different, but this place is really unique and there's so much downforce that is a little bit of an adjustment.
A little bit of an adjustment indeed. The speeds down the straightaway different, but as Michael said, through the corner, that's where it really becomes a challenge.
Yeah, turn 1 is a little bit different in a Daytona prototype to his ST Honda, but he's done a great job. That team's on a roll, coming off a podium at Watkins Glen and a win back at Kansas.
Yep, started 3rd up to 2nd behind the leading pair of Mosing and Foss as they fly through turn 3. Let's look at Randy Popst, Freedom Autosport number 26.
This is a team that were on a roll early in the year. We talked a lot about teams having good and bad halves to their season so far. These boys had a couple of wins early on, and then they lost their momentum totally.
Yeah, they did.
Couldn't seem to be in the right place at the right time. Had damage at Watkins Glen as well, so they're trying to get back in their groove.
Doing well. Started 5th. They're up to 3rd. There's Kyle Gimple in the 4th place car in ST.
And the Bimmer World 81 right behind that for position as well.
And that's Tyler Cook, co-leader in the points.
And Bimmerworld such a great job. They're just so consistent every year. They're right there, as are the Compass 360 boys for that matter. They're just sort of linchpins in this championship.
If you look at the points, you often see 2 drivers, usually co-drivers. Obviously, they share the car, they share the championship points, but occasionally you'll just see 1 of 2 drivers assigned to a car in the standings. That's because there's a minimum drive time that must be reached, 45 minutes in each race, in order for a driver to score points. You might get in the car, and you might have a mechanical or a crash or some other problem that prevents your co-driver getting in that will split up teammates in the points. Let's get back down to Brian.
When you look back a little bit further to the number 3 from C.J. Wilson Racing, Tyler McQuarrie and Mark Miller behind the wheel, they're having a good run, but I spoke to them earlier. They said, expect to see all of the Mazdas, not just theirs, but even those from Freedom Autosport, and maybe we've seen it already, guys. Drafting here is absolutely critical. They will not lift off the throttle at all down the back straightaway. Maybe that's some of the rubbing that we saw with Mike Lamar a little bit earlier. They said we've got to maintain the momentum. If we crack the throttle at all, we will lose drastically, and that really works all the way around this racetrack. Such a momentum track for the little Mazda MX-5. It's about momentum, it's about carrying speed, and because they're lighter, it's about long green flag runs. They don't want to see a full course caution. They don't want to see any of that because the Continental tires hold up so well on those cars. The longer we run green, the further forward the Mazdas will move.
A little smoke right there coming down the hill out of the 3. There again, you see it, and this is on the high-speed back straightaway. It's something else, an underpowered car or a slower car, if you will. The fact that this racetrack is so fast, it makes it a momentum track. That's an oil leak, I can tell already, and it's hitting on the header system. That's not going to get better by itself, guys. I can tell you that.
No, it's not. He seems to still have speed in the race car, so he's pushing ahead. And getting back to your point, Bob, about drivers being split in the championship standings due to drive time. Well, the two leaders in GS, both Trent Hinman and John Edwards, are split, as are Nick Longy and Matt Plum. And what we saw happen just a few minutes ago was strategy here. Nick Longy does not have 45 minutes drive time in. There's an hour and 53 minutes to go in this race when Rumbum made the call. Why they're doing it then? They can now go to the rest of the way on just one more stop. So Joe Vardy, again, playing that strategy card. Let's get him in. If there's a yellow, we'll leapfrog a bunch of positions. So they're not worried about Nick Longy's points. He's already back in the points because he's split. They're just thinking about what Matt Plum can do here today, our championship leader.
Once they know they can go all the way to the finish, they'll sacrifice track position.
Ooh, that was really close, and you saw him bail out at the last moment. That if they'd have touched there, the 9 would have gone around for sure. I'm sure of that.
Yeah, and he's a lap down now, so by making that pit stop, pit lane delta here, the time that you lose just rolling down pit lane, forget the service, is about 25 seconds. So by making that pit stop, Nick being a bit further back in the pack, they've gone down a lap to the Stevenson Camaros. That is not ideal when you're running this strategy.
Now that's a gamble for sure. So the GS and ST classes continue to mix it up in traffic. Long way to go here in round 7 of the Continental Tire SportsCar Series. We'll be back. Back at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park in round 7 of the Continental Tire SportsCar Challenge for 2014. Eric Curran has pitted his Camaro Z28R to hand over to his co-driver, Lawson Aschenbach.
I think what you're seeing here is the domino effect. Once they pass that 45-minute mark where the drivers who are still in the championship hunt can get points, you're going to see these GS cars start to hit pit lane. You can't afford really to roll the dice if you're out there in the lead pack, because if there's a yellow pit lane is closed, you're going to lose the advantage you have.
And on a track like this, you know, yellows usually, and it's been clean so far, but most of the times yellows are prevalent here.
Curran brought the car in from 3rd. Aschenbach will depart in 13th.
I don't think the Stevenson Camaros can afford to wait very long. I mean, you are really rolling the dice here by staying out. We're on board now with our leader, Andrew Davis, as he has been since the drop of the green here. Sat on the pole. If he doesn't hit pit lane, I will be amazed.
Yeah, I'm sure he'll set up right now. Oh, and we've had to wreck.
This
could be the caution we're talking about.
This is why. I just don't know why they'd be gambling. I'm not sure if they would have got the call to Andrew in time, whether he's hit pit lane or not. See that the Matt Bell has hit pit lane, so our leader has got caught out by this. Matt Bell is in, Hinman is in.
And we got the full course caution.
Crazy.
Yep. So, Cal, that changes it for the leader.
It does, big time.
Yep. Trent Hinman climbs out. John Edwards climbs in. Jamie.
This is perfect timing for Fall Line Motorsports. Talk about good track position because they made it to pit lane before the pits were closed, so they're going to get this service in. As you mentioned, John Edwards already behind the wheel talking to team manager Michael Harvey. He was saying that they could not say enough about their drivers. They just need some good luck. Certainly working out their way already today. Brian?
Nice routine stop down at Stevenson Motorsport for the number 9. Andy Lally taking over from Matt Bell just in front of him, the 32 from Phoenix Motorsports. Andrew Aquilante taking over that car. Routine for the 9, but you guys called it, the 6, missed pit in.
Yeah, I don't understand that, and there's a little bit of a break for these other guys. 3 cars hit pit lane, including the 32 and the 6, so Those guys were able to commit. They were already committed to the pit stop before it went full caution. Once it's full caution, you cannot come to pit lane. That's why we don't see any further GS action right now. Everyone else had to stay out. So our leader got hurt, and everyone behind these cars got hurt as well.
Those guys are going to end up at the very back of the pack now by missing that.
Because they only have about 15 minutes of fuel on board. I mean, it's about an hour run for the GS cars, and we're nearly 51 minutes into this race.
That's a lot. I was just saying, this racetrack, we had been gone green all the way on there. Boy, as soon as one of your lead pack guys pits, you got to go. You cannot risk it.
It's just such a huge risk, and as we were talking about it, you then see a guy have a big moment and a crash, and
it's almost predictable. It's Ray Mason who had the crash.
Right, and the Subaru WRX STI, a recent addition to the series.
You could tell by where the car ended up that he hit the wall pretty good backwards. We don't know what happened. We'll take a look. Oh, no. Why was he way over there? I don't get that one. Oh, and look at this thing jumping across the racetrack.
Yeah, wow, something.
Yeah, he was way
Let's take a
offline.
look.
Yeah, that doesn't help us much there either.
That just about tore the differential out of the car.
Yeah, he hit the wall really hard, but he hit it way up in turn one. He wasn't even really halfway around the corner
I
yet.
know, unless it just hooked back across. If he dropped the wheel and hooked back across. And this was a car that was a bit of a sleeper for this race, being co-driven by Pierre Kleinhubing this weekend, who's an ace in one of these cars. And great to see him back with some more races in this championship. And they'd been very fast in practice. And this is a shame for Ray that he's had major damage day has done.
Ray took a rough ride there, too. When you see those cars, first of all, that car was off on the wrong side of the racetrack. It didn't make any sense. Then you saw it start doing that hopping.
Yeah.
When that car hops like that on the back and it lands on those tires, inside the car, you're getting pummeled. You're getting banged around in there like you can't believe. It's not just a big spin-out slide with one impact. Every time that car takes a set and hits on that tire, you're getting jolted hard.
We have 13 individual Canadian drivers in the race today. This is a Canada-based team, Compass 360, from nearby Toronto, barely an hour from the Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. Another break coming up. Stay with us. Welcome back to the Mobil 1 Sports Car Challenge from Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. This was Robin Liddell after the driver change, asking for some help, whatever what the problem was. The yellow BMW on the right from Turner Motorsports and Bill Oberlin able to leapfrog on the pit stop.
Yeah, some kind of snafu. He's trying to communicate with the pit box, couldn't get it done, so he's out there and he may still have a problem, but you could see he lost positions to the 15 and the 97 there. And this car really got hurt by, remember, they went a lap down with that early pit stop strategy, and what happened then when the 6th car didn't get to the pit lane, it kept these guys a lap down, so they've finally got the wave by to go back around, but there's a ton of other GS cars that have now had the opportunity to pit. They're going to sit behind them instead of in front of them. If only the 6th car had made that right call. Just amazing how another team's kind of snafu can affect your day as well.
So right now, Matt Plum, co-leader in the GS class driver points, runs in 18th position with a lot of work to do. We should also point out this yellow flag, our second full course caution of the race, was extended by the number 3 ST Class Mazda MX-5 in the hands of Tyler McQuarrie. Remember, we saw that car smoking, and Dorsey, you suggested it was an oil leak. Well, it ground to a halt. They put the hook on it, hauled it away, and a big pool of oil was left behind.
Yeah, and I knew it wasn't going to fix itself, and either it gutted itself out there on the back straightaway, or it finally just had no oil pressure left. But in any event, like you said, Bob, once they pulled it forward, there was a river underneath it.
It's going to be John Edwards leads this field back to green. The 4-line boys did a great job. Remember, there's only 3 cars. Take the opportunity to pit. They made the best pit stop, put this car at the front of the pack. Remember, these 2 guys hit each other at the Glen in the last race of the championship. There's a little bit of a bad feeling about that one as we go back to green.
And down the hill they come. The ST class cars also pitted. Currently on the lead is Kevin Boehm, who is sharing with Chad Gilsinger, who just got out of the car that he shares with Michael Valiente. So we expect to see him back in action. They'll fall off the lead, and Ryan Eversley will take over, followed by co-points leader in class Greg LaFouge, then Andrew Carbonell, James Vance, and Matt Pombo.
Well, Kevin had to stay out because Gilsinger's pulling double duty. He didn't have another driver in the pit lane at that time. So interesting play with the guys just sharing 2 cars on the same day.
This is getting close right there, trying to work an outside run. Down turn 4, you cannot touch each other there. Oh, this is going to go across the curb, and he bumps. He definitely got into the quarter panel.
Liddell and Oberlin. Remember, Oberlin jumped him on the pit stop exchange. Liddell trying to make that position back.
Robin was really aggressive there. Tried to get around the outside of turn 4. You just don't even think about that.
Look at Andy Lally looking for a way by our leader, John Edwards, as they climb the Andretti straightaway. John defends the inside line. Makes Andy, if he wants to go to the outside.
You can do it on the outside there with somebody that leaves you room, but will they?
And in the S's, you could seize the line for the next corner.
Spoke to John Edwards this morning. He'd just come from the steward's office where he'd reviewed the incident between he and Andy Lally at Watkins Glen. He said, I looked at the video. You really couldn't say Andy was at fault, but when you look at it from my onboard video, Andy definitely squeezed him. He went up through the S's, got damage, and 19th place finish for the BMW that day.
Here's another look at that bump from on board the number 6. Let's listen.
He works on the outside here, but look, up on the curb. And then at the same time, he jumps off the curb, gets into the back end of Ottoman.
Nice save by Bill there as well.
Yeah.
Here's another great look at it from the high camera.
Yeah, he just bounced off that curb, jumped up in the air, and got in the back.
Bill gave him a little salute on the brakes as he made the next corner.
I tell you, Bill knew it was coming. He already had the handful of opposite lock before it happened.
Yeah, I think that flash of the brake lights was Bill's answer.
And Liddell had to suddenly start to turn the car. If he'd stayed on the brakes, he'd have probably locked them up and just T-boned Bill Auberlen at that point. So he had to try and get some steering into it. Then he got up on the curb and was seen already today. You don't have a lot of grip when you got 2 wheels off the deck.
Now, when that happens to you, what normally you do if you're in the back car, Robin put his hand up and say, sorry, man, I didn't mean to do that. That's, don't wreck me.
Now let's get more on the strategy from the Rum Bum crew. Here's Jamie.
Well, as you guys have mentioned, they sacrificed the points for Nick Long. He made that decision to come into pit lane early, but that number 6 car, Nick, not making the pit stop, what effect does that have now on the rest of this race?
Well, it wasn't ideal for us strategically. I mean, Joe Vardy and the crew here made a good call, which we thought was the right one right there. The yellow came out right at the wrong time. Things happen. I have faith. Matt's driving the wheels off it. Our car is not as fast as we'd like it to be here based on how heavy it is, but that's the way cookie crumbles. You win a lot of races, the car gets heavier, it's all right. We'll try to make it back. As I said, Matt's the man for the job. Joe knows how to play this like a master he always has. I want to quickly say something. We have some signs here. We have a friend who's in a bit of a battle herself right now, who we know is watching. Jackie, our friend Jackie, we want to say go Jackie. You're our #1 fan. We're your #1 fan. So keep it going for Rum Bum Racing. We're all behind you.
I know she's watching live using that Fox Sports Go app. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Jamie. And we'll add our greetings to Jackie. Back to the point now. BMW John Edwards over the Camaros of Andy Lally, Lawson Aschenbach, Andrew Aquilante in the first of the Mustangs, and so on.
Well, remember what we saw at the beginning of this race, Bob? We saw Trent Hinman's kind of fade a little bit away from those Camaros. They seem to have a lot more pace on the early going on a fresh set of tires. That may be the pressure that John Edwards is feeling right now. So he has to make a decision. Do I let them go and just settle back down and try and manage my tire, conserve the tires, or do I just try and maintain this track position? Another guy to look out for. Great to see Billy Auberlen back in Conti action here this weekend.
John Edwards right there in the BMW looked to have straightaway speed on all those guys. That was a full draft. He was pulling the train behind him and still was opened up about 2 car lengths. That's strong.
Yeah, top end of the straightaway, that BMW really starts to run. Off the corners, the torque of this Camaro is really strong, but it's a big greenhouse with that Camaro to punch through the air.
Now let's get more on the number 3. Here's Brian.
Tyler McQuarrie shares the number 3 with Mark Miller. And Mark, we know CJ Wilson's on the disabled list right now. It seems like the number 3's on the disabled list. What happened? We had seen some blue smoke for a few laps.
Yeah, I don't want to sound like the ultimate cliche, but we really had a good car today. Zoom Zoom Nation Mazda MX-5 was, we had what we wanted. We had a long green flag run, and we had a good tire conservation, good fuel conservation, and we were sitting there running 6 by ourselves, and then we had started picking up the blue smoke. I was praying it was tire rub, and when we came into pit, everything was running fine. And I'm just gutted for Tyler because, we're trying to claw our way back up after that big wreck at the Sebring and try to, get him back in the title chase. And we thought we had some momentum going our way. And we really hope it's not bad enough to where we can get some circulating some laps out there just for points. But, man, this is really tough to stand here and not be watching our car out there.
They're going to see if they can make some kind of repair and get it back out. You heard him say every point that they can gather, it's important.
Well, it didn't blow an engine then, did it? If you want to get it running again, that means it was an oil leak. It could, it could be a fitting, could be an oil filter for that matter that came loose. That happens too, but definitely they got to go to work on it.
Meanwhile, no change in the order in GS, so Bill Oberlin makes a great save coming off that curbing in turn 10.
He is driving the wheels off that turn of BMW, just trying to maintain the 6th position that he currently has.
He's sailing sideways into that turn.
It's fascinating to watch these cars, though. It shows you where one is strong over another.
This pole-sitting Camaro looks to be a lot more stable right now, and Robin's got really good balance in the race car. We saw him coming up the straightaway from the onboard.
Here, John Edwards talking about the fact that the car is really good on bumps. You know, this is a bumpy old racetrack, no doubt about it. You see the back of the car hopping up and down. I don't think the BMW likes that quite as much. Probably a stiffer platform.
John Edwards knows what he's talking about. He drove the Camaro for so many years to great success with Stevenson, many wins under his belt for the last couple of years, typically driving with Robin Liddell here.
Keep an eye on that black Mustang coming up from behind. That's Billy Johnson from Charlotte, North Carolina. And he's been a bit of a hero in the early season.
Well, one thing about Billy Johnson, he only knows one speed, and it's not where he's sitting right now. You know, he runs the wheels off these Ford products.
Yeah, he's been a bit frustrated from this season, though. I mean, not the results when he teamed up with Multimatic. I mean, ran with Roush Racing for so many years, scored many victories as it gets really tight here up into turn 8. So they're trying to turn this season around, and I saw a tweet from Ian James saying we're putting the big motor in. And I said, well, it's like a Ferrari in Italy, Multimatic here in Toronto is their home turf, and maybe they can get a strong result here in front of their hometown crowd.
Billy drives real hard, and you know, it's one of those things, when you drive as hard as he does, the results are good or they're bad. You don't have a middle, you know, and he's been on the receiving end lately, not so much the dishing out end.
I had breakfast with Ian James after the Watkins Glen race. We were flying out on Monday morning. I said, how's Billy handling the fact he's not seeing victory lane like he's used to? He said, I've been really impressed. He's stayed really focused, really calm, hasn't got frustrated. We just got a task on our hand to really get this Mustang back to the front, and that really speaks volume. It's easy to be cool when you're winning. When you're digging in the trenches a little bit, Dorsey, it gets a lot tougher.
Well, and he's running with the best of the best out there right now, too. I mean, these guys, there's no slouches in this group you're looking at. They're all on their A game.
Edwards, Lally, Aschenbach, Aquilante, and watch for the 15 Mustang Scott Maxwell. Another one of those 13 Canadian drivers here that I mentioned, and a guy with 1 million laps at this racetrack. I was speaking with Joe Foster, who works with Patrick Dempsey in his Tudor United Sports Car Championship effort. And Joe said Scott Maxwell could teach anybody to drive quickly here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. To Brian.
Remember, guys, those Mustangs have a stick axle on the back, so they've got a different handling characteristic. But Mike Johnson here with Stevenson Motorsports, that full course caution came out probably at just the wrong time for you guys. We expected to see the 6. We did see the 9. What happened? Just a mix-up in communication?
Oh, no, not at all. I mean, perfect job for the 9. We were going to do the 9 one lap and then 6 on the next one. As soon as I saw that car on the wall on TV, I just screamed, pit, 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 pit to the 6 car. And I looked down the lane hoping to see him come in, but he was right there and he had to go and take the last turn. So, you know, and then on top of that, we didn't have the best of pit stops, so we got behind Oberlin there. But, I mean, our cars are real fast. They're real good. They're real consistent, but they just don't pass very well. So we got one more pit stop coming up with both cars, or we're going to have to be really good there if we want to move up a few more spots.
I can feel relatively certain, guys, that they're not going to gamble quite as much as they did this last time.
And what Brian meant when he said stick axle is that the Mustang has a solid rear axle. In other words, it's the old school type of rear drive car. No, most of these new cars are independent rear suspension, so when you hit bumps, the one wheel goes up, the other is not reactive to it. The stick axle is not the same way.
What we used to call a spool. There's a look at the scene here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. We'll take another break and return with more sports cars in Canada. You name it, and it has raced here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, formerly known as Mosport, IndyCar, Trans Am, Can-Am, Formula One, Canadian Grand Prix, Formula 5000, and on and on and on. A fabulous racetrack, a huge challenge for the drivers, and you're watching the battle for the overall race lead as John Edwards is fighting to keep Andy Lally behind him, and he's trying just as hard to go by.
He really is. This battle has been sensational, and we saw in the early laps of this race the Camaro seemed to come up to speed a little bit quicker on their tires. Dorsey, Edwards really in the grey. They're just trying to defend here, trying to hang on. Lally is all over him, and Oshibak is right there as well. The rest of the pack are closing in on the leader.
Yes, they are, and they are led by the Ford Mustang Boss 302. Scott Maxwell up into 4th. Andrew Escalante is 5th. Billy Johnson is now 6th. And BJ Zacharias has the Nissan up into 7th place. Bill Auberlin and Robin Liddell have lost a number of positions in just the last few laps.
Here's the BMW strong part. It stretches his legs, but not so much this time. Is that lap car, the ST car, didn't get the momentum. John had to go around the wrong way.
It seems like when John just tries to push it a little bit further, the car's giving up on him. He's getting a little bit wide, and that's allowing that Camaro that looks to be really hooked up here this weekend to just close in on him.
He's got pressure from behind for sure, no question about it. These guys are chomping at the bit, and those cars from behind are looking to get stronger.
A couple of laps ago, it got really close down in Moss Corner. I think there may have been a little bit of trading paint down there. If we take another look at it. Watch this in slow-mo, Dorsey. What do you think? Did he touch him or not? Here we go.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's just a little kiss. That's it, you know.
That's cool, though. He didn't turn him, and
that's
John
a
still
good
got
place to do that, too. That between the 5A and 5B, you just go up there and give it a little nudge and just say, okay, now let's go. We're getting on.
Just aimed between the 4 and the 6 on the rear bumper. To Jamie.
Look at that.
Oh.
I was just talking to John's co-driver, Trent Hinman, and he was saying that when he was out there that the track was very, very greasy. This is the hottest day that we've had out here. So one thing that he thinks is going to be an advantage for John as this stint goes on is that tire wear. He said that at the end of his stint, he could tell that he had a much more stable car than the Camaros. He relayed that information to John over the radio. So John is just managing the tires, trying to get it to the end of the stint. We talk about it a lot, but today he says it's even more important.
ST car flashing the right side turn signal, meaning pass me on this side. And you saw he almost had a little bit of a bump from that guy, John Edwards.
Jamie brought up a great point, Dorsey, is the fact that typically when a co-driver jumps out of the car, they'll jump back on a radio headset and talk to the guy who just got back in and say the car's good here, certain parts of the racetrack, what the tire wear was like, when it came back to them, when the others seemed to fade a little bit. He'll relay all of that information to John Edwards right now.
And that's good stuff to know, no question about it, because you can back off a little bit knowing that the other car is going to fall off some. Watch this because it's under review.
Well, the 73 gets a little tail happy, comes back across to the apex and gets into the BMW 65.
Yeah, he took a very wide entry as one of the Kwok brothers there from here in Markham, Ontario. Local boys know the track very well. Just took a very wide entry, came back down. I think the other car thought that the door was wide open, Dors.
The funny thing about that is that, and looking at it from my perspective, as that car entered from the outside, it got very loose. It started into a spin. He had no choice at that point in time to put steering into the car to get it back under control. And in doing so, the other car got underneath, and I think that's a hard one to call. Watch. Now, the outside car, the black car, it's loose right here.
Right there.
He's going to have to catch it. He catches it.
And he gets on that patch there. He gets a bit more grip.
He gets his grip, and he can't really do anything with the attitude of the car. He just saved it. The two of them get together. You know, that's one of those deals. You get into turn one side by side, more than likely somebody's going to spin. And, of course, they're reviewing that. That's a hard call. Yep. Because the outside car getting loose kind of messes up the strategy.
This is the battle for second in ST. Eric Foss is on the point now in the pole-sitting car after Kevin Baum brought his Civic Si in to head over to Chet Giltzinger. So right now it's Foss out front, and then this battle. Ryan Eversley, Remer Musidi, and then Andrew Carbonell.
Someone who's disappeared off the radar is Michael Valiente. That looked like to me during the pit stop exchange. They had a good pit stop, but Michael's now dropped back to the 20th position and is showing a couple of laps down. So I think they must have had some kind of issue here.
This is another thing that I've noticed, Calvin, in the last couple of races, that these Porsche Caymans, they get strong in the middle of the race. They seem to stay good in the, on tires. And the longer the green goes, those cars start moving forward.
Well, they're going to come. Wayne Nonemaker, who's coming off a pair of runner-up finishes, sits in the 6th spot. I think he'll be a factor here before this one is played out.
And behind him, in 7th place in class, is Terry Borcheller, reigning series class co-champion. We saw that 23 BMW spinning down the backstretch a long time ago. Well, now they're back up to 7th in class and gaining. To Brian Till.
Just checked in with the team. They said Terry is running on a pace with the leader, so the lap times are good. But there is damage to the left front of that BMW. The front splitter is significantly damaged on the left front, and the ducting to the brakes on the left front are also messed up. So he's not getting air to the left front for both aerodynamics and cooling of the brakes. I asked the crew what that would do. They said, well, Terry's a pro, he can hang on to it, but he will have unbalanced braking across the front. Right now, they're just trying to nurse that car, make sure that they've got a good car that they can race hard with for the last 30 minutes of this event.
Is your car represented in the top 5? BMW. We've got Porsches and a whole lot more. Another break coming up, and we'll return to Canada. Stay with us. Back at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park in Ontario, Canada. We are ready for a restart here at the Mobil 1 Sports Car Grand Prix. Round 7 of the Continental Tire Sports Car Challenge for 2014. Safety car is off, and Andy Lally leads Scott Maxwell, Billy Johnson, John Edwards, and Robin Liddell down into turn 1.
Can we see a hometown win here this weekend? 2 Multimatic Mustangs run 2nd and 3rd, Dorsey.
And those cars have been strong all day. They've been sitting back a little way, but I don't count them out, not here.
46 cars slipped back to 4th position with John Edwards. What happened on that pit stop, Jamie?
Well, the fueling took a little bit longer than expected. The fueler had a tough time getting that nozzle connected, so they lost a couple of seconds there on pit lane. Unfortunately, it was at the wrong time in the race. That last pit stop, the most crucial pit stop, so now they're trying to make up for that.
Meanwhile, back in the ST category, Eric Foss, in the car that started on the class pole, remains the class leader.
Look at
Remo
this.
Rossetti.
Here comes Liddell. He is on a charge there in the 5th spot, right back in the mix. He was fading a little bit, Dorsey.
This is a rebirth for most of these guys.
Yeah.
36 minutes to go. Now it's almost a sprint race to the end.
I don't think I've seen as much position shuffling as we have in 2 rounds of pit stops in this race.
Yeah, there's a lot of strategy going on there with the laps when they were taken, whether they took 2 or 4 tires.
The 2 might be a good gamble here, because you really wear the outsides, the left sides. So right sides aren't that bad, but, we saw him drop off. That was tried last race. It didn't work at Watkins Glen.
Guys, you talk about strategy being a key, so is Lady Luck and timing. It's everything. We saw the 32 from Phoenix running strong earlier. When that full course caution came out, they dove to pit road right behind the 9. The problem was it was a little too late. They would have to serve a penalty for coming to pit road with it closed just moments ago. With the next full course caution, the 14, the Nissan from Dorn Racing, was leading. They were up front. They were headed to pit road. The full course caution came out. They couldn't come to the pits. They had to stay out, and that cost them. It sent them back 6 or 7 spots on the racetrack. Very similar to what happened to the number 6 car just a little bit earlier. Timing, right. It's everything.
Absolutely. BJ Zacharias and the Nissan number 14 went from the lead to 12th in class, and I wondered what had happened to Andrew Aquilante in the 32. Thanks for the explanation, Brian.
Yeah, had to serve that penalty. We talked about timing. It looked like 3 cars had hit pit lane, while basically only 2 had the window to do it. That 3rd one got the penalty.
Picking up the ST lead. There's Eric Foss in the BMW. Remo Rossetti behind him in the Porsche. Then Andrew Carbonell in the Mazda. And Ryan Eversley in a Honda.
This yellow has really helped out these ST cars, because on a previous pit stop, I think they were all a little bit shy in terms of making it to the finish. But with the amount of yellow we've now seen here over the last 30 minutes or so, these guys should be able to squeak it now without hitting pit lane again.
These same 4 cars were in the top 4 when they all hit the pit lane. But basically, the class leader, Foss, is the only guy who came out where he went in.
Rossetti in that Porsche, keep an eye on him. That's a very hungry team right there. I like the Cayman's odds. It looks good on the long runs. Be something if they could win in that car.
Remo's another Canadian driver, of course, knows this track extremely well. Multiple karting champion. One of the Compass 360 boys for a number of years, and he's going to be quick here in this last 30 minutes or so, that is for sure.
Yeah, I like the way that car looked. It looks on the racetrack, it's very balanced looking.
Plunging downhill through 1.
Terry Borscheller there with that front end damage from the little trip that Mike Lamaro took up into turn 8 and took out some of the Tudor signage boards.
Losing a little bit of downforce there, but he's losing a lot of braking potential. The brake cooling on the left front comes out of that bumper. You see on the right side of the car where the bumper hole is? Well, there used to be one on the left with a hose hooked to it.
Another long high-speed sweeper. Here's a look at one of the Salen's Porsches.
Another Cayman. They're trying to get back up front to 2.
Wayne Nonamaker's in the mix in the ST category. As we mentioned at the top of the show, On board with the number 9, we're watching the number 9 on the race lead with Andy Lally. Let's listen into a pit communication.
Full pressure again. I got to go to reserve.
Fine, bud. Go to reserve. Go to reserve.
Wow, that's not a good sign. That's
yeah, just a few laps after a stop.
Something's amiss there. I mean, if he's on reserve, he's not going to last long unless he can just switch back to the main pump again, Dorsey.
Yeah, that main pump, that reserve only is supposed to get you a lap or so. But I don't know that you can't feed off that reserve pump either, all of the fuel.
Now,
you just don't have a reserve any longer is what I'm saying.
Remember, he pitted. They were in a big rush, put 2 tires on in the rush to get out ahead of the 46 BMW. I wonder if they didn't get sufficient fuel in.
Well, yeah, but they should have only been a couple of laps shy. They marginally beat them out, but it wasn't like they half filled him. So, we've got 30 minutes to go and everyone else is good to go on fuel. So there's some kind of system malfunction going on versus not getting enough fuel on board, unless the fueling rig wasn't working properly. It was connected for a long time. Whether all the fuel got on board is a whole different story.
Yep. Let's go to Brian.
Well, if the 9 does have a problem, it's good news for this man, Jade Buford, who shares that Mustang, the number 15, with Scott Maxwell. Jade, for the last couple of years, it's been Aston Martins here at Multimatic. What's been the change as far as driving style goes between the 2 cars? What have you guys had to adjust to?
They're quite different. Basically, the Aston, we could basically manhandle that car. This car, we have to treat it a little gentler and really focus on the strengths of the car to get it to put together a lap in it.
Hot today, and with the straight axle in the back of the Mustang, you don't have that independent rear suspension. How big is tire usage and tire conservation going to be for Scott right now? I know he's a guy that likes to attack.
I believe it'll be very important for Scott and Billy both to manage their tires. They look to be doing a good job, and hopefully we have something at the end.
That'd be a huge win for Multimatic. You said it earlier, guys. Home time victory. That'd be a big party tonight.
No question. And Scott Maxwell, we mentioned that he knows this track well. In fact, Maxwell was on the driving strength, winning the last Continental Tire SportsCar Challenge race here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, the series then known as Coney Challenge, the track then known as Mosport. But the commonality between the two, driving a Ford Mustang, sharing on that occasion with Joe Foster. Another break coming up. It's Lally against Maxwell on the point with lots of others in attendance. We'll be back. Welcome back to Canadian Tire Motorsport Park and the Mobil 1 Sports Car Grand Prix, round 7 of the Continental Tire Sports Car Challenge. As you can see, we are under a full course caution for our 3rd time in this 2.5-hour race. Here's a quick race recap.
Mike Lamara had a moment down towards the brake zone. Not sure if he got tagged, Dorsey, but a lot of damage to the front end of the car, but his teammate continues to run wild. Terry Borscheller up in the top 10 today.
Car shedding parts as it went along. There's a jump off the curb and contact made.
Jason Montgomery there getting into Andrew Long. Nasty one here for Ray Mason down into turn 3. Major damage there.
First caution of the race with that.
And there were pit stops and a lot of leapfrogging around. You see the Turner boys beat out what was the pole-sitting car and race-leading car, the number 6 car, who missed their opportunity to make pit lane, lost a few track positions. Liddell tried to come back, though, Dors.
Hits the curb, gets in the back of Oberlin, who's going to be not too happy about that. However, that was just the beginning.
And his teammate, Andy Lally, roughs up John Edwards a little bit for the lead of the motor race. Good hard racing here.
This is deemed a racing accident after review. I totally agree with that call. Car on the outside gets loose and contact was made.
Tim Probert turned around. And full course caution number 2.
This was for just getting stuck in the gravel trap in a bad area.
Jason Montgomery again behind the wheel. And we're seeing a great battle here for the ST lead. Remo Rossetti getting around Eric Foss.
Eric Foss for long. I don't think so.
About half a lap later, notice Andrew Carbonell there in the blue, white, and green Mazda.
Yeah, he tried to
find him, Ryan Eversley, in the Honda. Those guys have been at it all race long. So
wow.
Here's where we are. Andy Lally in the 9, Stevenson Camaro up front. Eric Foss in the pole-sitting BMW leads ST. Now you're up to speed. We'll take a break and return to Ontario. Welcome back to Canada, moments away from a restart, with the minutes continuing to tick away in today's race. Let's go quickly to Brian Till.
Well, We heard earlier the radio communication between Andy Lally and Mike Johnson at Stevenson Motorsports about going to reserve. I checked in with Mike. He said, we've had a problem with the main fuel pump all day long, so that's not the first time we've had that conversation. We think it should be fine. We'll just run on reserve to the end. And with this full course caution, we're good on fuel. I said, you're sure? And he said, absolutely, we are good on fuel unless we run out.
In which case we're not.
What goes on there when you lose that one pump on the main and you go to the reserve, it still pulls off the fuel line, but what happens is there is no more reserve. Because if it's out now, it's truly out.
Well, I would imagine we have a few twists and turns remaining in the 20 minutes of this race.
This is going to get good. Matt Plum, great recovery drive. He sits in the 7th spot, our championship co-leader.
And Andy Lally will lead them to the stripe. Scott Maxwell second, Billy Johnson third, John Edwards fourth, Robin Liddell fifth.
And Lally lit it up and put the outside tires in the middle of the dirt. Here comes a rum bump Porsche down the inside, takes a position.
Yeah, I think he's actually defending a position there from David Levine.
Over the brown, plunging downhill from turn 2 to 3.
Andy Lally is on it.
Yeah, he's going, he's checked out.
Their teammates have seen victory lane twice this year, but he and Matt Bell have not had a podium run at Lime Rock. Their best result of the season. They want to get a victory here pretty quick.
Maxwell and Billy Johnson, these two Ford Mustangs, they're going to really tag up now, tag team, and try to get the Ford up front.
It's a strong field up front here.
Picking up the ST class lead. Once again, it's Eric Voss with that black Porsche right behind him, Remo Rossetti, and then the Mazda and the Honda.
That was far from over, that race.
4 different marks here in the top 4 in ST. Led by BMW, then there's the Porsche, the Mazda, and the Honda right behind them, with Ryan Eversley drop back a little bit here on this restart.
Ramo got a little squirrely in the middle of that corner, loses ground. See if he loses second place because of it. The Mazda's tucked up.
James Clay here really defending well. He's got a pack right behind him, led by Wayne Nonamaker, who's dropped back a little bit.
Rushing up the Andretti straightaway.
This, Rossetti wants by again.
Well, he had a little bit of a run going there, but
trying to take the line away, couldn't do it. And he's got mirrors full of the Mazda of Andrew Carbonell now.
Yeah, that's what I was worried about, because when he slid in the middle of that 5B, he didn't get a good run on the straightaway, and I thought maybe Mazda was going to power by.
There are the numbers, upper left of your screen. Lots of title contenders in class in that mix, including the reigning champion, Terry Borcheller, now 9th.
I think he's hindered, though, with that body damage and the brake cooling.
These yellows probably have helped the brake issue a little bit. I was wondering if he's going to run out of front brakes if they weren't getting any air to them, Dorsey, but these yellows will have certainly helped that cause a little bit. Past the second here.
Carbonell takes Rossetti.
Boy, he had been working him now. Rossetti is going to fight back. Look, he's going to go down the inside. Try to.
Plunging left-hander coming up
He's got
at 4.
the speed. Now he's outside.
He's outside. He's going to have to give it up as Gray around there. There's not a lot of grip.
They're watching from the pit lane.
Freedom Autosport, boys. I think that had to be.
Yeah, you know it was. If I was Rossetti, I'd have backed off too. That outside pass there. It's good to show the nose, but you got to have discretion and valor there.
And now Carbonell catches right up to Foss.
Well, these little cars really get a big draft up the straightaway. I mean, they top out on their speed, and then without the draft. Look at these two guys are trying to pull along. Oh, boy.
Carbonell just set fast lap in class.
It'd be nice to work together for second and third place to run down that lead car. Was the strongest of the 3.
Carbonell had 2 wins with Randy Post, then went 28th, 18th, and 25th.
Carbonell, really good shot off that corner.
Yeah,
he tried to get his nose in there. He's going to try for 1, too, I think.
Yep. Pulling up on the draft.
The 2 cars dropped back a little bit in this mix here, Brian. What's going on?
Talking with the team a little bit earlier, they were a little disappointed with their qualifying position because they said this racetrack is very hard to pass around. And in so doing, starting back into 14th, it would be difficult to get it done. Although Andrew Carbonell gets it done, heading down into turn 2. So right now they're a little stuck a little bit further back. Maybe they need to take a lesson from Carbonell.
He slid it on the entry to turn 3, and here comes Rossetti again. We know he's got speed through this section of the racetrack, but he's got nowhere to go.
Foss did, though. Look, he's going to go with Foss. That's a good thing. He's going to take.
No, it's not going to work. And now he's out in the gray, diving through 4.
Wow,
that was some really good driving back there by all 3 of these guys.
Good, clean, hard racing with 15 minutes on the board.
There were mistakes made in all three cars, and everybody just hung with it.
These guys battling has allowed Ryan Eversley to close in a little bit.
I said it was far from over, but I thought just for one position, not three.
Well, look at them all nose to tail behind.
Yeah,
Here's the
James
run
Clay
for
is having a great run leading that pack, Bob, in the 5th position.
Rossetti goes by around the outside, makes the pass on Carbonell.
ST battle on the left, GS battle on the right.
Look at Edwards. He wants by Billy Johnson in the worst possible way. He realizes that they need to get their momentum back. They are on a roll. They had 3 podiums to start this season, had a win at Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca. Since that time, everything seems to be going in the wrong direction with the 46 4-line car.
Edwards looked around the outside, then ducks back under.
That on the right side of your screen.
I don't know which eyeball to use on this.
I'm going cross-eyed trying to watch both screens simultaneously.
Billy Johnson doesn't want to give it up. It hasn't been the best of seasons for he and Ian James, so he wants to maximize this opportunity. But up front, Andy Lally looks really, really strong here. But remember, that Camaro took 2 tires. The BMW took 4. I'm not sure on the Mustangs if they took 2 or 4. That could be a factor here as these minutes wind down.
Less than 14 to go now.
Looks like Carbonell backed away in ST in 3rd place to try to possibly get a run on these two. It's been a full-on war. Rossetti's got the Porsche's got top-end speed, but Foss doesn't give him anywhere to go with it. Watch, see, he's already defending the inside right there. He's moving up the inside, so he's going to make the Porsche go out. There he comes.
Pulls alongside.
Yeah.
This might work.
Wheel to wheel. Still a long way to the braking area.
Got him for
and
the time.
He clears him. Nice job there by Remo.
Wow. Lead change in Street Tuner. Meanwhile, Andy Lally continues to lead GS. We'll take a break and return with more as the checkered flag draws close in Canada. Back at Bowmanville, Ontario in Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, no change in the running order in the Grand Sport class, but there has been lots of changes among the top 3 in Street Tuner.
What a dogfight this has become here for the ST lead, Dorsey.
Take a look at what just happened. I mean, it's just all over. You see right there, Eric Foss gets a run to the inside. BMW pulls alongside the Porsche. Carbonell's back there in the Mazda. He's watching all this. See who's going to have the favor. He's going to the right.
He picks up a nice draft there, so Foss stoves it on the inside. Carbonell comes with him. Moves Rossetti out of the lead and back to 3rd. Awesome stuff.
Absolutely. Lap after lap. Meanwhile, back to the front of the race, Andy Lally has about a 4-car length lead over Scott Maxwell's Mustang, then Billy Johnson, and John Edwards right there in the pole-sitting BMW.
I think Edwards' car probably has a little bit more speed at this time. He's the only car in the top 4 that took 4 fresh tires on that last pit stop. Everyone took just left side, so that should be a factor. The yellow will have kind of taken that advantage away from him somewhat, Dorsey.
The longer it goes green and more, it should play into his favor for sure, but we only have 7 minutes left, so I don't think it's enough time to make much difference.
Matt Plum was in 7th, co-leader in the GS points with Trent Hindman, who is the co-driver for John Edwards. But right now, Mike Skeen has gotten by Plum's Porsche and is up into 7th place in the 00 Camaro.
Yeah, and Skeen is a real hot shoe. He's coming off a double victory in the World Challenge Series at Road America just a couple of weeks ago. He's won here before at this racetrack, so he is a real stud behind the wheel and getting around Matt Plum. That really makes a statement there. So Mike Skeen is coming as well. Look at this traffic. Can Edwards use it to his advantage?
I was going to say traffic is what's going to really halter this thing up and change it up.
On board with Robin Liddell in 5th.
Sitting right behind that battle, just a few car lengths back.
He's hoping everybody gets slowed up there. Oh, by the way, this hasn't stopped either.
No. Carbonell now back in 3rd. Rossetti in the middle. And Eric Foss on the point.
Eversley right behind these guys coming off the victory at the last round of the championship with Kyle Gimple and Watkins Glen. So they have some momentum as well.
These guys have been driving the wheels off these cars. What's really fascinating about that, you know, is the different handling on the cars. Yeah. Which one gets squirmy? I think the best handling one's probably the Mazda at the back, but he doesn't have any straightaway speed. Motorsport's got a long straightaway. The Porsche's good there, so is the BMW.
Carbonell is a real talent behind the wheel as well. Randy Pope's his teammate, a veteran, just can't say enough good things about this young driver.
This is his end of the track. This is where all that handling pays off, where the straightaway speed's not so prevalent. Problem is, like we always say, the long straightaway, it's easy to pass down the straightaway.
I think the Cayman has the advantage if Remo can just execute it and really plan his tactics carefully.
He's working the inside right here, but thinks better of it. Problem is, you can't get over aggressive with trying to go for the lead, because if you don't get the pass made, then you got Carbonell to deal with. He's going to come by you.
Right. Foss has seen this picture before, so he'll know from the gap behind him where that Cayman will be as they get towards the brake zone, and he's just trying to keep it so he can't quite clear him.
I think
then
he
he's
will
just going
clear
to
him.
stove it in on the brakes.
This time he's got a big run. Watch it here.
No,
not yet.
not quite. Foss takes it. You see, if he just can't quite clear him, Eric's just going to take it in as deep as he can and just threshold brake and just take the line back away.
If it had been the last lap, I'd have gone with that on the outside.
Yeah, Foss was squirming. He is on the limit in that orange BMW.
The key for Remo is he's got to be super close coming off Moss corner. If he's a car length or two back, he starts to pass him, but he doesn't clear him. Excuse me.
I mean, you can do that. You can do the entry to turn 8 side by side. We've done it many times. But boy, it's you got to really put your life in the other guy's hands.
Wow, look at this. Look at Billy Johnson. Come on, Scott Maxwell. It's like he's hit a boost button.
Wonder if he didn't miss a gear back there.
Yeah, I wonder if Maxwell had some kind of issue there or has a problem.
Unless they decided to try to do it the other way around.
See if Edwards can take advantage in the BMW.
Well, maybe Larry Holt said, Scotty, if you can't take it to our leader right now, let Billy go after him. Maybe Multimatic are just playing all their cards here to get a win.
It's one of those two things. Either he got the call on the radio or he truly missed a gear because the speed that was too fast. The pass was too easy.
Yeah, the gap wasn't changing on the leader, so I'm sure Larry Holt just said, if we can't make it happen right now, let's have a change of tactic here. Billy, if you got any tires, let's go get him.
Yeah, I think that could have been the call. I mean, he was aggressive. He was trying for many, many laps. Nothing was happening with it.
And then all of a sudden,
that pass was way too easy. Either a mistake was made or it was no mistake whatsoever. And
now
look at this,
Remo.
Remo.
At the outside. This time he might be able to get by. On the last lap, I'd hang out there. He
got him. He got him.
Oh, and he twitches under braking right there. Well, 3 minutes to go. This is going to get really good.
And Foss isn't going anywhere.
Nope.
The other thing is that this last corner, you can dive it down to the inside, take a bit of a risk.
Carbonell might be looking good here.
Yeah.
With these
there's a left side wheels. Oh, jeez.
Driving the wheels off the racetrack, just using every little bit of exit speed he could find, but ran out of room a little bit.
Now, see, if Carbonell had been tucked right underneath, he might have been able to get that run. He's got to run right here. Watch. See if he goes to the inside. Nope, not yet.
This is bad news for Eric Foss and Carbonell, because if Rossetti can hold the lead down into Moss, he's got straightaway speed to burn.
That's been the whole key to the thing is if he can lead down in that 5B, he will then, in fact, have a big advantage.
He needs to run the 2 best laps of his life right here to try and clinch this victory. The lead here in GS held by Andy Lellius. Now Billy Johnson up to second. Brian, what are you hearing from the Multimatic cam?
I checked in with Larry Holt. I said, what happened? He said, Scotty let him by. I said, he let him by or was told to let him by? And he said, no, that's just Scott Maxwell. He said, I don't have anything for him. See what Billy can do.
That's good.
That's cool.
That's good stuff. That's a team player and a guy that knows his race car and his abilities.
So Larry Holt there from Multimatic. At the center of rumors that Ford Motor Company is considering a return to the 24 Hours of Le Mans in the next couple of years, running a prototype car.
Well, there's a lot of synergy there. Obviously, Multimatic taking over the rights from Lola, so they've got cars that they can really just reconfigure a little bit and immediately be out there on the racetrack and be quick. It's not like a huge development program, particularly if they go into the P2 category.
Of course, Multimatic has strong ties with Ford anyway. They do a lot of the stuff for them and have for many, many years.
Great news. Ford hasn't been a factor at Le Mans for decades. Great news for sports car fans everywhere.
Could be coincidence, but I did see Larry Holt and Jamie Allison from Ford in dinner conversation at Watkins Glen. They do a lot of business together, so it could have been a different subject, but certainly a big news on the internet this morning.
Or maybe not.
They could run in the LMP2 category to start, which, not coincidentally, is also a part of the prototype mix in the Tudor United Sports Car Championship, sharing IMSA sanction with the Continental Tire Series. Less than a minute and a half to go. Last lap.
Okay, well, I think that
good
Andy
lead
Lally has
here.
a nice lead here, as does Rosidi.
Rosidi's got what he needs. If he doesn't make a mistake, that's enough lead now, because he's fast up that straightaway. They can't do anything about that.
It's easy, man, a little bobble, though, into...
or traffic.
Yeah, this is not the final lap, I don't believe, for these guys, unless the GS cars pass them. I think these guys are going to finish this lap plus one more, so it's the final lap for the GS class, not ST.
These three cars have put on quite the show. I mean, they have really hammered it. And behind them, there's a train of cars that are going after each other as well. Poor old Carbonell, he's up on the curb heavy right there.
Wow, this is Lally right in the middle of some traffic, trying to force the issue.
He's
That
going
got
to
a bit
lose
ugly.
ground. He's going to lose a lot of ground on that one.
He was lucky that Billy Johnson wasn't close enough to take advantage of it there.
I think Johnson's going to have a run at him here. Look, he moves over to the inside of BMW, gets the draft, pops out. He's using everything he's got to work with.
Trick in the book. He's just got to hope that Lally hits some traffic up in the final couple of corners, which is a possibility.
There's a car in front of Lally right now. There it is, that Honda.
All he has left are the S's. Here's the right-hander.
This is going to close it up, but not enough, I don't think.
Yeah, Andy Lally's looking forward. He's looking in his rearview mirror. He's got a nice cushion there. He should be able to clean this one up.
Through the left, then through the right. And Andy Lally will get that long-awaited victory for Stevenson in his Camaro Z28. Checkered flag.
Great job, guys. Very well executed pit stop.
Yeah, and he said it there. That pit stop really earned them the win, because remember, he came in behind John Edwards. Edwards didn't have a great one. He dropped to fourth, and Lally gets the win, and that was all about the pit stop.
Watch now, see.
There's the ST battle, and Foss moves up on Rosidi.
Foss has got to be right there. He's going to have to tuck in here.
He's going to try everything. Gets a little bit of a slide, but it's just going to be hammered down, Dorsey.
Porsche's going to have top speed. There's nothing what Eric Foss can do about that. Just hanging the draft, and he's done a good job. He can try to be aggressive up here in the S's, but
Eric's done everything he could possibly do.
Big crash here.
Into the wall.
And that's on
65.
fire.
It's Tim Probert.
That black smoke is usually indication of it burning.
It's got fire. Yep. Sister car to Eric Foss's number 56.
Oh, Rumbum's involved.
This is bad for points.
But they already crossed the line.
Okay.
Oh, boy. Now you've got to be careful. Oh, here comes the dive. Just a few feet too far back to make it work. And Rosidi will pick up the victory for Porsche in Street Tuner.
Now, there's crashes in turn one. Hopefully, these guys get shut down before that.
Yeah.
What about that move by Foss, man? That was cool. Whether he can make it or not, it scared Rosidi about to death.
Wow. All sorts of flags waving.
Yeah, there's...
Yep,
luckily, the Rumbum Porsche's off to the right.
Wow. He was trying to defend the position there as we got the checker, so there may have been a mix-up there.
What a way to end the race. We'll take a break and hear from our winners when we return to Canada. Back in Canada, where we had a sizzling end to a terrific race. Round 7 of the Continental Tire SportsCar Challenge. Our next stop will be the Indianapolis Motor Speedway for the Indianapolis Brickyard SportsCar Challenge. They'll be coming your way here on Fox Sports 1 on August 3rd at 12 p.m. Eastern Time. Time to hear from our Grand Sport Class winners. 9th career win for Andy Lally in Class, 8th for Matt Bell. Brian Till is in victory lane.
Andy Lally climbing out of his Camaro. Matt Bell standing down here with him. And I know that one feels good. Matt, get in here. There you go. He's up front. He's trying to keep the car from rolling away. So you get the opening stint, and a lot of people would say that's the more difficult stint. I know you would say that, of course, because there's a lot of traffic. But seriously, conserving tires in the beginning and making sure that you had a car to hand over, how difficult was that?
You know, it is tough. This is the greasiest we've seen this track all week. It was the hottest. I mean, you know, coming out of 5 with this much torque, you're not full throttle until it feels like you're halfway down the straight, till you actually roll all the way into it. So it's very tempting just to light them up, come off the corner. But when you realize, when you kind of take a look at the big picture, got to take it easy. I know I was trying to save a car for Andy. I didn't know how long I was going to stay in the car. We did a full fuel stint, so it was good that I saved my tires. You know, the guys set up this thing perfect. We were taking not big swings, felt like big swings. We kind of fine-tuned it a little bit. It was just what I needed, just a little bit of understeer in, a little bit of oversteer out. Andy did an awesome job. He was just running the same lap all day long. I believe one of his faster laps was one toward the end, so yeah, he killed it.
Talking about the end, I know you wanted this one bad. You wanted Watkins Glen. It's why you stayed in the car, sacrificed your foot. But on that final lap, when you got traffic down there in Moss Corner, what was going through your mind?
Man, that was tough because we hit traffic in a couple difficult spots, and there were some guys that tried to do the right thing, but unfortunately just didn't judge the gap right, and it really hurt our gap. But like Matt was talking about tire conservation, but I tell you, this is a 3,500-pound car, and we beat the heck out of these Continental tires, and they took it all day and pulled away from the competition. So I'm really thrilled with the Stevenson Motorsports team. Team Chevy, the Z28 Camaro is awesome. I really got to give a shout. Mike and I haven't won a race together in 10 years. This is Matt and I's first race together, and racing against Stevenson Motorsports for all these years and finally getting a win with them is really cool. So especially at Mossport, this is a special place. Everybody knows this is a driver's track, and I knew I had some good ones behind me to hold off, so it was a fun race.
Congratulations. Third win for the team, first for the number 9. Jamie?
Well, it's the first win for the number 04 with drivers Remo Rossetti and Adam Eisman. Remo, we'll start with you. When you were pulling the car down into victory lane, your team was yelling, "Finally, we did it." 3 minutes to go. How hard were you pushing?
Unreal. Eric was pushing me really hard. I mean, we've been so close the last 2 rounds, Kansas and Watkins. Watkins, we ran out a little. We weren't great with fuel mileage, but here we were able to do the job. I had an awesome battle. We had a little bit of trouble in qualifying, even though we qualified second. We had to start at the back because we had to change tires, but Adam did a great job moving it forward. These guys behind me, the Automaker crew, it's a small team, and they do an awesome job. We had an awesome pit stop, and it was history from there. It was a good race.
Adam, both of you are Canadian. To get this first win for the team, for yourself here in Canada, what does that mean?
Yeah, it's really nice in front of the home crowd here. We were a little more relieved, I think, than excited after the last 2 rounds. But hats off to this entire team. They've been working really hard. In qualifying yesterday, I made a mistake and put the car in the barrier. So they worked really hard to get the car ready, and just can't thank them enough. And thank you to Continental Tire. The car was great all day.
And today the car's in victory lane. Congratulations.
Congratulations indeed. Remo Rossetti and Adam Eisman, first victory for them. They come from the Vancouver area of BC. Let's check out the standings now after round 7, beginning with Grand Sport.
Well, they've gapped by 6 points over Matt Plum, Trent Hinman, John Edwards. They had a 4th place finish here today. They've got the momentum back a little bit. Could have been a victory with a better pit stop, though.
And here's a look at the Street Tuner category.
8-point separation here. Wayne Notmaker dropping back. Tyler Cook 9 with his teammate Greg LaFouge. So it's still tight, which it will be right down to the wire, I'm sure, on this class.
So we move from the big sweeps and elevation changes of Canadian Tire Motorsport Park to the Pancake Flat Indianapolis Motor Speedway. For our next race, that ought to be fun. A last word from Brian.
Ian James, Billy Johnson down here, and I know you guys gave it all you had, Billy, there at the end, especially with the traffic that appeared in Moss Corner. Did you think you might have a shot?
I don't know. Those Camaros were really strong, and the Multimatic crew did an amazing job. We haven't had a really bad string of luck all season long, but we finally got the monkey off our back to show what we could do. And for as strong as good of a car they gave us, that Camaro is just one step above. So tried the best I could, but with ST traffic hitting us at the wrong time, it wasn't looking great.
Yeah, but the Mustangs are indeed back. It'll be exciting the rest of the year. Guys?
No question about it. Thanks, Brian. So, looking ahead to Indianapolis, what do we expect?
Well, it'll be a different racetrack than this by a lot. That's a very low-grip racetrack. It's very technical. We'll see a different race there.
And I think you can see the competition level is so intense at the front of the pack, and you've just got to get that strategy spot on. 2 tires, 4 tires, when do you pit? That really jumbled things up here today.
And you saw how close it was in both of our points championships. So be sure to join us from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway next month. For now, I'm Bob Varsha. For Calvin Fish, Dorsey Schrader, Brian Till, and Jamie Howe, thanks for joining us as the Continental Tire Sports Car Challenge returned to Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. We'll see you from Indy, but for now, so long from beautiful Bowmanville, Ontario, Canada.